The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
What the fuck are we gonna do now? Get high? Hey! It's Wednesday. We're back.
Last Wednesday of the month.
Voices in my head again. Wow. Oh, that's because I have people here. So, yeah, we got a great guest tonight. I'm not even going to mess around at the beginning here. I'm just going to bring him in and go like this. And Jar Jar.
Hey, it's me, Jar Jar Jeremy. Welcome to Wednesday.
Welcome to Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know about you guys. I've been busy as like all hell. Just
dude, it's
up
just
the pool. You guys are doing fun things.
You know, before I bring Jeff in, I mean, I don't know about Jeff, but I'm still recovering from the weekend. We drove 9.5 hours to Monroeville, Pennsylvania for Steel City Cannabis Convention. And they were having a reptile expo right next door, dude.
I saw that.
What a weekend. What a weekend, man. What a great show. I mean, if you guys haven't seen Steel City Cannabis Convention or their Pittsburgh Mega Reptile Expo, there's another one in September, man. Get your tickets and head out there. And yeah, Jeffrey.
Yeah, it was bakes and snakes.
Bakes and snakes.
You know, it was a lot of fun, actually. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not a big reptile guy, but I held a few snakes in my day.
Yeah, inchworms don't count.
So, but yeah, no. Not only is it the last Wednesday of the month, but if I am not mistaken,
Yes.
this is also our 200th episode, correct?
Yes, it is. Last week
It
was
is.
supposed to be the 200th episode, but unfortunately, the guest's computer and technology wigged out on us, and life goes on. But without any further ado, Jeffrey, you want to
Yes, let's bring him right in. So, supposedly, this guy writes stuff,
Writes
and he's
stuff.
and he's worked with some really cool people from what I was reading. He writes. I do read. So, Dustin Warburton, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. What's up, guys?
How are you? So
I'm good. Okay, what day is it? Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
yes, it's Prince Spaghetti Day.
Yeah,
I'm in that blur right now. Just but yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, it's still a weekday, so the weekend's not here yet. Although you probably think it's a weekend every day now, right?
They all blend in together.
They all
these
just
days,
kind of blend in
It
together.
depends on what I'm doing for work in the moment too. It's like the schedule can get crazy. So right now I'm in that zone of like the sessions. We're working on numerous projects, but this one project we're doing a lot of night sessions. So I actually work tonight, not long from now. So yeah, but that's how you get that. That's how you got to get stuff done, though, right?
Right.
Do you keep yourself to a strict schedule?
Oh well, I my writing partners on this project I'm doing right now, they're all out west, so it depends. So sometimes, unfortunately for me, being on the East Coast, my sessions don't start until 8:00 sometimes at night.
So you connect with those guys via Zoom or some kind of
we just get on the phone, Zoom.
Okay.
We we use Google Docs. That's what we've been basically doing for years. So
Nice.
Gotcha.
yeah.
It's got to make it a
Gotcha.
lot easier to collaborate with people from all over the place. Then
It's really cool. I mean, it's when I'm very old school in terms of like I can't stand cell phones and the internet, social media. I'm not really into that stuff. But if it wasn't for the connection that we're able to do with these phones, I wouldn't have done a lot that I've done. Like I wrote a book years ago with this boxing champion from Russia, but he lived in Australia. So the time difference, I was waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes to do sessions, just because. But so yeah, I have to credit technology in a way. It's got a lot of. I've been able to utilize it really well.
Right.
So what do you help people like write their biographies and stuff?
No, I've never done. I'm a fiction writer, so I've been asked to do biographies before, but I've never done one. I've never really wanted to do that. But
Okay, so you're just collaborating with other people that have other story ideas.
Yeah. It's kind of morphed. The very brief version of it would be like I started as a horror writer, and I was 25 when my first book came out. I was published at 17 when I won the New England Young Writers Conference, and so my first book. I had some celebrities endorse it. They, I was able to connect with some people, showed them my stuff, said, "Hey, if you think it's any good, would you write a quote for the back cover?" And so I was able to do that with my first book and my second book, and then it just started changing. Instead of like celebrities liking me and writing quotes for me, it just kind of morphed into like, "Oh, hey, let's do something." So that's kind of how it happened, and it just took off, really. Yeah. So I've worked with probably a dozen different. I started my first real collaboration in terms of writing a book with someone was with several athletes. So like Marvin Hagler, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Dennis Rodman, you name it. So I was able to work with a lot of Hall of Famers and a lot of interesting people. Yeah. So it's been a journey nonetheless.
But what did they want to write about that they needed you?
yeah, like Dennis Rodman. What does he want to write about?
And it's like with Dennis, I mean, a lot of these things just morph, right? So like when I met Dennis, I had a dinner with him, and his manager had set it up because I was going to work with Joe Frazier right before Joe Frazier got sick and passed away, right? And then they were going to be out, him and the same manager repped Rodman at the time, and we're going to a dinner in Boston, and it's not too far from me. And they're like, "Hey, why don't you come have dinner with us?" So I was like, "All right." So we went and had a dinner, and at the time, I had written a couple. I had done my first 5 books were on my own, and then my 6th book was a celebrity collaboration, and that's with the boxer from Australia, Costa Zoo, and I had done one with Costa, and then I did one with my friend Jesse James Leja. He was a Mexican American lightweight world champion from Texas.
Wow.
So I did 2 books with them, and then that they were just interested in that idea, and we're all talking, and next thing you know, I wrote one with Dennis. Like the idea literally hit us at the dinner table of like, well, if you were an animal, what would you be? Well, you'd be a bull, a wild fucking bull, and
Right.
And the idea came up, and this is before North Korea. So Dennis was a little out of the spotlight at the time, and there was like this lull. And luckily for us, because the book was really publicized and did really well and everything. And then, he went to North Korea, and then that became like all the headlines. So luckily we were able to pull the book off before that, because the book would have been overshadowed by all that shit,
Oh yeah.
And that was Dennis the Wild Bull.
Yeah. That was a trip. Yeah. We debuted that in Chicago, and then took it to New York and Jersey and LA, a few other places. Then I brought them to a horror convention in Florida. That was fun. Dennis had never been to a convention before, so
oh boy,
so I
that's interesting.
brought him to that.
He was just at a convention up here, probably 2 months ago.
Now they do them all the time. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's because funny thing is, the Darren Prince was the agent at the time. He was repping all these guys, and Darren and I are the ones that kind of connected, and he brought me in to have dinner and stuff with him. But at the time, Darren had never. He was like a really powerful sports agent. Never brought. He repped Magic Johnson, a lot of guys, and he'd never. The conventions were like beneath these guys, and I kept telling him for like a year. I said, "Look, we go to a convention. The convention's not like the bookstore taking a cut and all these people taking cuts. Like, go do one show." And we did that one show, and then that was it. Like, I never did another show with those guys because they just went off on their own for shows. Because
right,
he repped Hulk Hogan at the time, so that's when Hulk started doing conventions.
Oh, nice.
All his whole roster. And they were crushing it. So it was like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the most famous people, or one of my most favorite people that you've worked with, was Hector Camacho Jr.
Hector's a good friend of mine. Yeah, and Hector's just a really good friend, and I'd met his dad a couple times. And when his dad was murdered, it just kind of like the idea came out. It wasn't even about like, hey, let's do a book about your dad. It was just I remember him telling me how he had to tell his daughter how grandpa's gone. But, and that idea sparked. And we're like, let's do a kid's book about your dad, about you, about losing a parent, losing a loved one, and for kids. So that was a cool project. It was like challenging. And it was really, and now it was a cool one, because I was as a hobby, I was a boxer in my 20s. I was a middleweight. I fought in the amateur, but I did fight. I competed. But I got to the level to compete, but my path was to do this stuff. I wasn't, and
much safer.
Yes, yeah,
much safer.
But yeah, Hector's a great guy. He's still out pushing the book and stuff, and that's the cool thing about some of these projects. You could do them 10 years later, and you could still revisit them, and like, it's like because kids are being.
You prefer writing the children's kind of stories?
No, actually not. It's just it kind of happened. I mean, my first 2 books were horror. My first book was called Taste, and my second book was called Strange Things. And this is years ago, but long before the show Stranger Things, right? Mm-hmm. And then my third book was about my boys. I wrote a kid's book called My Brother Eats Spiders. And it just changed it just changed. And I was a young man. And I worked in a maximum security prison for 4 years to put myself through college. So from 22 to 26, I worked in this prison. And
you don't strike me as that old, and yet you seem to have a pretty full life already.
Thanks.
Right?
I'm 43, so it's
Oh wow, you wear it well, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed 43.
Thanks. See, I stay active. You know, I snowboard all winter and I scuba dive. You know, I hike mountains and shit. Like,
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
you live in the mountains, so yeah.
I have to transit. My brain doesn't ever stop, so it's like I have to transition to do things. But you know, like scuba diving is like, I just got certified 2 years ago, but I've been snorkeling all over the world forever. So I'm obsessed with, you know, the ocean,
That's
sharks.
really cool.
Yeah, it's fun, you know. So, but yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, you know, it's like when I wrote My Brother Eats Spiders, it just opened up the doors, you know.
Was that based on on truth?
No, but the whole idea of it was like the older brother telling the story about how his little brother eats spiders. You know, he does this, he catches them like this, and everyone says this, and the whole story, you're trying to make sense of it, and then in the end, you're like, well, maybe I'll try one. So it's almost like, you know, like it's just like, and
once you can get past the fur, it's okay.
You know, it just kind of happened, and I don't know. It was and that shifted my entire writing goal to start. I never in a million years intended to be a children's writer, right? So it was like, you know, but the kind of cool thing too is that I always wanted to go to film school and all that, but my parents didn't have the capabilities to send me to film school. You know, my dad was a carpenter, my mom was a nurse, just regular low key people in the woods, and I grew up on a lake, and but I always knew that if I could, you know, as a writer, if I could somehow get a book done and another one that would take me to film somehow. Right. And it did. And a movie director found my second book and called me up and became like my mentor and taught me how to fucking do film. And is Tibor Takis. He created Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Gate, all this stuff. And it turned out to be him. And then he directed my film Spiders, which I in 2013, we sold we sold a movie. So it was one of those things where it's like, I took a break. Like I started in horror, went into kids and film, took a break on writing the horror books while I pumped out a ton of kids books, but then made a horror film. So it was like, it was humbling, I guess, you know,
it came full circle.
Yeah. It was cool, you know.
Now, do you find it easier writing the horror novels or the children's novels?
You know, God, it's it depends on the project. I have a horror story that I've been working on forever, and it's not done yet. And it's like, so it's something funny too. Like when people are like, granted, if all the money's there, people can go, you know, that's a different story if someone's financing you to create, right?
Right.
So that's never happened. We're always just like crazy artists have to create what we do, and hopefully it can get out and do well. And so when I see like people starting out and they're like, you know, part 1, part 2, part 3, you know, part 4, 5, and they do all of them together. My first book, right? I have been working on the sequel to that since I wrote it. Off and on. And I literally wrote, I have the rough draft done years ago, 20 pages are edited, and I still haven't finished it yet. And it's like one of these things where when it finally does come out, it's probably going to be like, because I'm up to 14 or 15 now, and that's not coming out for a few more years, every bit of that. And I'll probably put out another 1 or 2 before then. So yeah, the sequel to my first book will probably be like my 18th book in realistic, like 20 some years later. You know, so I mean, it's just like, but then some stories come to you quick,
right?
Some don't, and some you struggle with, and it's like looking back at my work too. I'm my own worst critic, so I'm always looking at my stuff like, oh, this one sucks, and this one's all right, and this did all right, you know. But they all served a purpose, you know. They all did something for the work, you know.
Right. Do you have a favorite?
I have a few, I guess. You know, I My Brother Eats Spiders is still one of, like, I love that. Like, people love that book. And it's one of these, like, obviously I'm not rich, you know, but that book came out a long time ago, and I'll have people reach out to me and be like, I got that book 15 years ago, and it was my kids loved it, and now now my grandkids are reading it. And it's like, hearing that kind of is really interesting, because sometimes for a lot of years, I did several conventions a year. I do bookstores, libraries, schools, workshops, festivals. You know, I do at least a few gigs a month in addition to working or whatever. And the last several years I only do a few gigs a year now. And so sometimes when like you're working behind closed doors so much and you're not doing many signings anymore, you forget what you even do. So it's like sometimes I forgot that I've even done this shit. It's like, but Chiller Theater had me as a guest, last month, and I had a bunch of people come up and they're like, "Oh my God, we've gotten your books for like almost 20 years." And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's been that long." So sometimes it's like motivating, it's like, fuck, I got to get back to work here. Like, I'm doing stuff, but like, oh man, like, but yeah, it's just they're all like they're all different. They're all living entities that kind of, sometimes you can create them fast, and sometimes you work on something for 6 months to a year and then it doesn't work, and you're like, oh, I have to start over. That's wild to do.
I mean,
it's like,
as a poetry writer, it works the same way. Sometimes you can just sit down and bang these things out, but I still have stuff that I've been working on for 10, 15, 20 years. It's not done.
Yeah. It's I have my folders.
There's something missing. It's not done, and you get stuck on which way you're supposed to go. So you just put it aside.
Yeah.
And then I go back to it.
And I always work on several things at the same time. Like I always work on a few things at the same time. Always, like, and
it's kind of boggling mind
so I'm able to like bounce back and forth, which helps. So sometimes something I'm working on here might help me over here, like But
I can't write like that.
Going from horror to kids stories though is interesting. I've been able to switch it, like to just like go from, I remember this horror film I wrote called Black Asylum. They did they did a 5-minute teaser, and they had like Keith David in it narrating. They had Billy Drago and a bunch of actors in it. It was really cool. But when I was writing that, I was working on the I was working on a kid's book with John Amos about race, a world without color. So like I was working on this like nice, beautiful, sweet story, and then I'm like going over to this other world where these mental patients are ripping people apart. I was like, so it was like interesting to do that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the way you balance yourself, though. Kind of like your own zen.
And then I've done some scary kids books, which is a cool blend.
Really?
Like I did one called it originally was called The Little Monsters Guide on How to Scare Children. And then when they revamped it, they just How to Scare Kids. Yeah. And so that works. And then Tom Holland read that. And Tom Holland, who directed Fright Night and Child's Play.
Yep.
And so we connected, and he got a hold of me, and I'll never forget being on the phone with him for the first time. And he says, "Dustin, I'm a fan of your work." And I was like, because I'm desensitized to celebrities, I could care less.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And but with Tom, this is different because like Fright Night was my shit, and as a kid, and I was just like, when he said that, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, oh my God, well, Fright Night was like my favorite film ever. Like, holy shit. And we ended up, he loved it, he loved my stuff. So we wrote a book together called How to Scare a Monster. And it was Tom's only ever children's story, non-horror. So,
wow.
And it was so cool though, because like the characters in it, it was literally Peter Vincent's grandson is the kid. And Stephen King's the father. And it's like, it's like the artist was able to put all these like Easter eggs in the art. So like in the kid's bedroom, you see a Fright Night poster on the wall, and you see a Psycho model house because Tom wrote Psycho too. Yeah, it was. So yeah, it's I'm really, really humbled with what I've done. Like I've been able to work with some really cool people and learn a lot of cool things. But stepping away for a bit and coming back, and sometimes you feel like you're starting over again. It's so weird. It's like, because it's like a machine, and when you're in the groove of booking yourself out, and you're always talking, always hustling, doing that. And then like a few years ago, I was like, all right, I'm stepping away, and I'm just gonna start working on film again and come up with some other stories. And because I didn't have any, I wrapped up like my last celebrity kids book, and so I've done a bunch, and I was like, I'm gonna take a break from that and work on. I want to get another, go back to film and write some crazy shit. So it's kind of, that's what I've been doing. So yeah, in short, I'm working on a film with Oliver Robbins, who was the kid in Poltergeist.
Oh,
Yes,
we know him.
Yeah, we
So
know
I'll-
Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver's good dude. He's my screenwriting partner on like 2 different projects right now.
Oh, cool.
Huh.
All right.
I wonder if that's what he was. Well, we were in Virginia with him last year. He said he was writing a couple of films with somebody. I wonder if he
Probably
would-
me. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I was
say
saying he's
anything.
probably talking about you.
Yeah, but
Yep.
he couldn't say anything. Yep.
Yeah, he
Oliver-
wouldn't say nothing about
Oliver's
it.
great. Yeah, I love Oliver. He's a good dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
It's fun, you know, and then I'm doing I got a couple kids books going, you know, little things I'm tinkering with, and I do have a horse. I don't know what the art is. I'll have to find it, but I do have a book. It won't be out until next year. But it's gonna be like a horror novella with maybe 8 pieces of art in it. But Stephen Bissett did the art for me, and that's
nice.
this legend artist. So I've known Stephen since I was a kid, since I got published at 17. So he was like another mentor. I basically had a few mentors growing up. You know, Stephen, when I first got published, I met him and he helped me out a lot. And then Tibor Takis, really. I mean, Tibor put the time and effort. You know, we spent years and hours and days just working and learning from him. So for me, I'm humbled because I'm like, I look at it still like I'm a nobody writer. And these guys are good at what they're doing. So if they want to spend time and pick my brain and have me help them do something, I must be all right at it, you know, I guess.
Right.
So that's how I look at it, you know.
Just a little bit, right?
I don't know. So yeah, and like my most recent book is with Barbara Eden. So that's my last book I put out with her.
Wow.
So jokingly.
Is that another kid's book?
Yeah. Barbara and I it took us 10 years to do that book.
Wow.
All together. Because we met in 2013 in Australia when I was on a book tour for a month. She was on the same tour as us, and she loved my stuff, and we took us, I think, like a year or two. It probably took us a year or two to just get an agreement in place, because, like, you know, it's like, you know, once you get agents and managers, sometimes things, you know, I had a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had a lot of. I can't tell you how many projects I've had not happen because agents didn't want them to happen because there was no startup money. You know, David Hasselhoff, he wanted to do a book with me. Gave me his manager's info, call him, do this, do that. And David Hasselhoff was great to my dad, and he was a good dude. And but you know, the management, they just kind of put that there's no money up front. Let's shut that to the side and move on. Oh, here's some money up front to do something, and that's so that's how things work, you know. I had a lot of
that
things
takes the passion out of it.
It does, you know. And it's funny when people reach out to me too. They're like, "Oh, I'm interested in doing a book." Well, how much will you pay me to do a book? I'm like, "You crazy? Like, I'm the writer, man. I'm willing. I'm not getting paid nothing. Like, I'm willing to join you to do something if it works. If it works out, because like I'm picky too. Like, you know, I only want to work on what I want to work on. You know.
Right.
But yeah, it's the name of the game, you know. So I've jokingly been saying, God, you know, maybe I'll never publish another book again, and I'll leave off with my Barbara Eden because jokingly, right? So my Dennis Rodman book was so big, it almost spoiled us, right? Because it really was. It was like on Oprah and the Tonight Show, everywhere, every news fucking agency in the country covered it, and to have a book do that, like something you create, you know, it was like, whoa. And my follow-up book was the Camacho book, and that actually was challenging because I remember, like, you almost got spoiled. I was spoiled for like a year, and then when I came out with my next book, you know, none of the press wanted to talk about it. We had to like really fight to get some headlines and then start doing it, and it kind of like showed me again too. It was like, back to reality here. Okay. So then, you know, with Tom Holland, we were able to get the horror news and stuff. No mainstream would cover it. But, you know, John Amos, we got Wendy Williams and some mainstream there. And with Barbara Eden, though, we were able to get a lot of good stuff. And People magazine featured us and stuff. So that was cool.
Oh, nice.
It was the first time I've ever been in People. I was never, out of all the books I'd done before, I never was in People until Barbara. So I'm jokingly saying, shit, maybe Dustin Warburton will adopt a pen name. And when they look at the last book Dustin wrote, Dustin's last book was in People magazine, but now I'll create a pen name, you know, and release all my other stuff now with a different name. I don't even like. I've been jokingly saying that to people, like maybe I'll do that. You know, because I don't want to feel that I'll have to start all over again. Put out a book that gets no press. Like, what the hell?
Wow.
But
so
yeah,
do you have a favorite author?
I have a lot of them. I love E.B. White. I love E.B. White. Surprisingly, my favorite authors really aren't horror writers. Like I love E.B. White. I love Steinbeck, Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stoker, H.G. Wells, H.P. Lovecraft, Charles Dickens. God, Ray Bradbury. Matheson. Yeah, I love the classic stuff. Like I love all that stuff. It's but E.B. White, I always loved his stuff so much. Why? It's something about him. Yeah, he was always one of my favorite. Do you know how he came up with the idea to write Charlotte's Web?
No.
So he was like famous at the time.
It wasn't about eating spiders, right?
No. But it was about So he was the brief version. I think was like. He was famous at the time, working for in New York City and like his essays and shit. And he is well known. And he had a farm out, I think Maine, And so he'd go out there on the weekends and get away from the city. And he'd go out to his farm and he had pigs and all this shit. And he was on deadline to write something for somebody. And he had a pig get sick. And he had to take care of it for like a week. Bring it medicine a certain time of day, do all these things to this pig. And after like a week and a half of taking care of this sick pig, he was in his office sitting there and there was a spider web up above his thing and it hit him right then and there. And he called up the people he was working with and said, I'm going to be gone for like the next month or two. And he sat there and he wrote Charlotte's Web, but it like hit him like having a pig he was going to slaughter. And he ended up not slaughtering the pigs, and none of them. But he was gonna kill the pig, like he had already done it before. And but having that sick pig and taking care of it gave him the idea. So it's just, I always thought that was really cool how that happened.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most difficult part about writing kids' stories? Would you say?
For me, coming into it from the horror side. I remember like when I was like would reach out to school, hustling and going out. One year I did 38 school presentations, 38 different schools. So I got good at it. I would go in and, from kindergarten to high school to college, and like with the kids' books, when I started doing, when I had my brother eat spiders, I started visiting elementary schools. And then when I wrote How to Scare Kids and Jesse and the Boogeyman, I just kept going. I found that it could be challenging because horror, some people would look me up and be like, ugh, he's a horror writer, and like not want to have me come in. And I just remember like facing some obstacles there. And I remember briefly someone that wanted to rep me, I remember people saying, maybe you should have a pen name. And I was like, no, you know what? It's a genre and I love it. And I'm going to contribute to it. And then the same thing can be said here. And I think that's when I wrote How to Scare Kids. I think I was like, you know what, I'm doing do like a it can be tough because with some of the celebrity books I've done, you have agents. You might have an agent reviewing your book who has no kids, critiquing things like maybe we should do this and this. Like have you ever sat in front of a classroom and read a book to kids? Do you have kids at home? No. So but you're in an office with your suit and you're critiquing what we're creating. And for me, it's like ground level. Like I want to spark the kids' interest. That's what we got to find, and like, so I think the hardest part is to, kids are changing. Technology is changing kids. The attention span is getting shorter and shorter. And so what I've found now looking back with my work is that some of the longer stories that are kids can't comprehend. The kids with ADHD, some kids would kind of get lost. But I found that the shorter, fast-paced stories work best with kids. Just from my own experience.
I would think it'd be difficult. I would think it'd be difficult with choosing the right words. I mean, you gotta keep it simple for kids.
Yeah,
I would have a tendency to like, use words that are like, maybe they're not familiar with, that are too grown up for them. Not on purpose, but accidentally. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where I think with my style too, I've never wanted to write a kid's book like for kindergarten, so to speak, like where it's like
what age group do you write for?
The bus went here. I've tried to imitate Dr. Seuss's audience style in terms of how a Dr. Seuss book would be all ages. Right. It could be fucking kindergarten. You could read it to a little kid, to third grade, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you could be a grown adult reading it and enjoying it still. And that's something that's special. So I try to strive for that, to where I've never tried to make it a specific age group, or this is like third to fifth or first to third. I've never done that. I just kind of go at it and try to make it fun and see where it goes. So, which can be challenging too.
Yeah, even the young kids can read it if they're smart enough. They'll understand.
Exactly, and I try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's like, I almost look at it like every time I've experimented with all different styles. I have kids books that rhyme. I have kids books that are, art on one page, text on one page. I've written them like poems. I've written them like this, and it's like, I've written on my comic books. I've experimented with all different types, and it's just like, that's how I'm learning myself, and I'm putting out different versions, and I can gauge which ones I can look back now years later and be like, okay, well, this one is probably my weakest. This one's my strongest. Like my go-to books when I'm in a school, I can pull out, be like, boom, boom, boom. Like if I've got a few books to show, I can instantly grab
now,
6.
How long is your average kid's book? So
I learned my first kid's book, I didn't know anything. I just created it, and it ended up being like 44 pages, I think. And so then I learned that well, they count every page. They count the title page, the copyright page, the author page. Right. So, but I learned that
Did we lose his audio?
Yeah.
Where he has a 30.
We lost your audio. You lost your audio.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah. I think my phone's dying. Jesus. Yeah. So I've got my own formula that I do, that I kind of like break it down and be like, all right, so here's what I have to work with. Here's what I have to have happen by when. And it's weird. Yeah. I've kind of created my own outline. Yeah.
Okay.
And nowadays, this is like, when I did all this is before self-publishing existed, before any of this shit. So it's like, now you can be like, upload your PDF into this, and it's published for $100 instantly. We'll do all this stuff for you. But like back when I did this, there was none of that. I had to figure everything out, like we had to create it. I mean, like, God, I wonder if I have this right here. I have all my old artwork from like a lot of the books and stuff I have, but I'll have to find it sometime. But yeah, I have in my second book, Strange Things, I had 6 different artists work on that book. And there were 6 different short stories. And, we're figuring out what the hell to do. And like me and Nathan, the one artist I work with, we're literally razor blading the text. Like we had the printed page. We razor blade every line and then get a plastic sheath and tape them on. And we're like figuring out where the words are going to go in the bubbles. We're like literally creating. Now everybody's like inserting it on the computer and graphic designing it. We're fucking razor blading, print pages and pasting them on the sheets and then putting in a paper and drawing the circles. They're like, all right, draw your art around this and we'll paste this in this way.
Oh my God.
It's like, but I'm glad I learned that way, So now I'm like, I sound terrible. Like now I sound like I'm like this mean old, right? Not old, but like, I feel like I'm not racist, but I'm like Clint Eastwood in that movie Gran Torino. Like, get off my lawn. And, like a few years ago,
I've been.
The guys I was working with, the management people that were trying to manage me, they were like, because I'm hard. And they're like, join these writing groups on Facebook and comment once a month and this and that. And I'm like, I can't do this. And they're like, yeah, do it. And they like make me. They're like, you got to get on today and find something and write. And I'd get on and just everybody's like, they want the answers to everything. People are like, what? How do you do this? And I'd write something and I had to like remove myself from it all. I'm like, I can't do this, man, because everyone just wants the answers. It's like, go figure it out, you know?
Right. Nobody wants to do the work, but they just want to be told how to do it. Yep.
I've had so many. Yeah, it's like I did. I'm like, go figure it out, and like people will reach out and be like, how do you do this and that? And luckily,
it's funny that you say that because, like Jeff and I, we've known each other 38 years. We both have writing backgrounds in poetry, Golden Poet Award winners, and we revisited something that we started, and we were writing a novel together. And somebody read it and they were like, this would be an amazing comic book. Now, I build houses for a living. He builds high-end furniture, you know?
Right.
So we were like, okay, well, how do we do a comic book? So we literally just did the same thing you said. You know, we figured it out.
Like, we didn't ask anybody. We just figured it out.
We storyboarded everything and blah, blah,
researched it and found an artist and said, okay.
See, that's how you do it, and that's the way to go, and that's what I love about like. I'm so glad I did this back when I did, you know, and like figured.
Well,
it out.
The other thing too is our approach is totally different because of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have the blinders on. Well, this is how it's done. This is how you're supposed to do it. We did it our way, and it makes it different.
Exactly. Right. I had somebody reach out wanting to co-write a book with me and use an AI artist, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna pass. Yeah. Like, that was literally 6 months ago, and I was like, you know, I'm like,
no, we don't do AI artists.
Actually, and now I'm like, I'm good, but that's now you're getting any jackass can go in the AI thing and be like, write me a story about a butterfly on a hill that is afraid of snow, and like then they'll get it, they'll alter it a few things, and then go stick it in the PDF for Amazon, pay some artist and freaking Madagascar $300 because you know they got these websites called you know, what is it, Fiverr. Yeah, I've used that for graphic designers.
I use it
a lot when I'm working on things, like if I need like files updated and things like that. I have graphic designers all over that I use, but like, you know, I knew people that were getting artists overseas in these countries that were so poor and paying like $400 or $500 for a whole book. And I was like, it was just mind blowing to me. I was like, the industry has changed. Yeah. I'm like, damn, you know, back when
not necessarily for the better.
No, back like when we started, we're just like trying to find artists we can trust, and it's hard, you know. It's like,
I mean, with AI, AI is just going to make people stupider.
Well, it already is. It already is, you know, right?
Think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, trying to find an artist that you can trust is really hard. I mean, Jeff and I, like I said, we wrote the novel, put the novel on the back burner, and we actually pulled 5 comic books from the novel, which came out first. And we worked with 4 different interior artists and 4 different cover artists.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know? See, it takes it's a journey. Everything.
Oh yeah, like, yeah. Right? I mean, awesome. We got lucky. We found an artist in the UK when issue 4 was coming out that wanted to do our cover. And let's be realistic, your cover is what sells. Oh, yeah. The story inside could be shit, but if the cover,
what's gonna make exactly what's gonna, you know, it's funny. I actually have one book here. So this book to this day is one of my favorite books I've done. But it's my second book. But Strange Things is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Now when you see that, right? It's like I would pick that up. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like But it was you know, Stephen Blickenstaff, a famous artist. He did the cover for me, and for free because we became friends. But you know, my whole idea with this was like a book of short stories. Give me kind of like, I love these demented sick clowns, kind of like Kill a Clown from Outer Space, but different. Right. Opening up the flaps to a demented circus tent, like come on in and look at our exhibits, and that was kind of the whole idea for that. Okay. But you know, but I know, like, I've got some crazy covers, and it's like summer. You can look back at some and be like, You know?
And that's what I was saying. Is like this guy, he wanted to do the cover of issue 4 for us, and he just killed it. He crushed it to the point where we signed him as an in-house artist. Like, he does all our artwork for everything now.
That's great. See, once you find, you know, and yeah, I'm glad. That's cool, you guys. I've got to go in a few minutes. I just realized I have an 8 o'clock session, but
yep.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned clowns. I'm going to assume that you, as a horror fan, you like the Terrifier films.
Well, here's something funny. I've never seen them.
What?
I've seen All Hallows Eve.
Okay.
But that was it.
You gotta see Terrifier.
Isn't that funny? See, I am such a bastard that way with stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. I really am. I haven't seen any of the Terrifier.
See, I went backwards. I watched Terrifier first, and then I found out.
Yeah, same here.
All Hallows Eve. I liked All Hallows Eve. I've seen it.
It was okay.
I've seen it once. Okay. I liked some of the things in it. I really go toward a lot. I'm not a gore guy. I find that a lot of my work and a lot of my interests are like psychological horror, creature feature shit. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love 80s. I'm a child of the 80s, so I love 80s horror. Like this, I love Larry Cohen, like The Stuff, and The Stuff's one of my favorite movies. And I love some of the terrible 80s movies that are so bad they're great. Like what Troll 2? That's so stupid. It's great. I don't know why. John Buechler was one of my good friends, the director of Troll, the first Troll.
Yeah, he lost his audio again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's these people that keep calling me for.
That's what's doing it. Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to come on again. I mean, God, yeah, the hour just went by fast. I didn't even realize we were on here an hour.
Right,
yes.
Right. So
fun.
We will let you go because you have things to do. So let me just go ahead and wrap the show up here. Where do you like interacting with people on the socials? You said you're not a big social media person, but fans. If fans wanted to reach out and say hi, or
on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. That's it. I don't have like anything else.
All right. And just for all you folks watching or listening later, just check the show notes up above or down below. I have all Dustin's links in there for you, even to purchase his books.
Oh, man. You guys are great. Oh, man. I want to check out your stuff, too. You got to send me the link to the book you were talking about.
I will. I'll send you a link to our website. Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Jar Jar. Hey, come check me out. I'm on Facebook, too. And let's see. Every Tuesday night, I do splash pages with... at 8 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. And come check out Comic Book Lovers Buy, Sell, Trade, and Auction House on Facebook, where you can buy, sell, trade with, I think we're up to like 50,000 other people. Something like that. But yeah, that's about all that's going on in my world.
All right.
Awesome. Nice.
Jeffrey.
Talking with the Dead on Facebook. StillToken.com. Just go to StillToken.com. All the other links are right there, the Instagrams and all that other social media stuff that I really don't care about because I don't deal with it. You know what I mean? I don't do the Insta shit. Insta what? Instagram sounds like a fucking letter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Facebook, yeah. And 200th episode. I want to thank Dustin for being here for that one.
Thank you guys.
Cool.
Thank you
that
guys.
was pretty cool. So
right.
Our stuff is shifting over to Red Coral. You'll find the link to Red Coral streaming service. That's going to be in the show notes. And all of our past shows are getting moved over there, along with the episodes. So make sure you check them guys out and give us a watch.
Nice. So yeah, like Jeff said, just go to StillToking.com. You can find out everything you want to know about the novel, the comic books, the live TV series.
I'll be back, hon.
Upcoming animation. Huge shout out to Dustin for hanging with us tonight. But to all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.
Peace.
Step it off, break it down and lose it. Come on.